What if I told you that the secret to breakthrough marketing isn't actually in the latest growth hack or AI tool, but instead is found in a lesson from Casablanca and a crying wife at a trade show booth? Today's guest went from being a Disney artist to becoming a marketing executive who helped brands like Little Giant Ladder Systems capture massive market share by doing something most marketers just don't do: actually listen. Matt Frisby is about to share why feeling understood is the sexiest feeling in the universe and how that one insight can transform your entire marketing approach. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone. I am Paxton Gray, CEO of 97th Floor. 97th Floor is a digital marketing agency designed to build world-class organic and paid channel strategies for mid-level and enterprise organizations. Thank you for joining us today for another episode of The Campaign, where we talk with marketing leaders about better knowing your audience, innovating beyond best practice, and converting visitors into customers. You can find past episodes of The Campaign on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and at 97thfloor.com. Today, we're going to dive deep into the art of storytelling and marketing with someone who's spent his entire career growing brands with stories. Matt Frisby started his career as a classically trained illustrator working at Disney before finding his way into marketing, where he discovered that brands can tell stories just as powerful as any movie. As CMO at companies like Blendtec and Little Giant Ladders, Matt has overseen marketing strategies that move products and move people. He's currently leading marketing at Axomo, a leader in swag management and employee engagement. In our conversation today, you're going to hear about the time a couple's fight in a trade show booth led to a breakthrough marketing campaign, how Matt built a multi-cam studio during COVID that got Zoom asking questions, and why he believes advertising is the highest form of art. You'll also talk about why most marketers are playing it too safe and missing the real opportunity to connect with their customers on a deeper level. This is a masterclass in taking calculated risks, doing the deep research work that most people skip, and why feeling understood by a brand is what drives real customer loyalty. Let's get into it. Awesome. Matt, take two.
Yeah.
Super excited to have you here. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here, man. It's good to see you.
So let's start off. I think you have one of the most interesting backgrounds of most people I know in marketing. So let's take it through, tell us to how you got to this point.
Cool. Yeah. Grew up in Southern California, was a classically trained artist, played sports in high school, and I thought I was going to be a Disney artist. That was my vision. I was a good illustrator, not a great one, but a good one. Went to school for illustration thinking that was going to be what I did. And as I developed, I kept getting better and better. I ended up getting a job at Disney during high school as part of the Disney Academy, which is like the Disney college program, but for high school. Great program, wildly eye-opening. I came from a pretty poor background, just parents trying, but just not like a big opportunity for education. I kind of had to take that in the bull by my horns. And so when I got hired at Disney, I was like, no way, and so I started out as a performer. And that was kind of a funny story of how that happened. But it was kind of this odd moment where I got invited to an audition. I have no dance background at all. Some cute friends were like, hey, do you want to come to an audition? And I'm like, sure. And so I got there and I was like, whoa, you guys are like actual dancers. I don't even know what choreography means. And then I got cast because I was 6'2" and I could move. And so it was the best college job of all time because I got to perform at Disneyland. And you only work half a day because you do a show and it's down for a half an hour. You do a show. Right. So for homework, I was just charging through my homework between shows. And then I got an opportunity to apply for the art department at the resort. And I got hired. And then I thought I died and gone to heaven. And I was like, I haven't graduated college yet. Like, box checked. Mm-hmm. And it was so neat to be a Disney artist, to work on Disney things. I was seriously enamored. And the Disney artists I work for were so much further ahead and like really seasoned artisans of every type of art. And just, I was blown away and super humbled at how far I still had to go, thinking that I had some skill. I'm like, I'm such a rookie. I have so much to learn. We had the opportunity to work on the Pirates of the Caribbean, like the movie premiere and all the things. We were aging swords for like a year, and it was the longest red carpet in the history of Hollywood. And so when you do things for Disney, they do nothing small. And I learned a lot about experiences and showmanship and a lot of that. And so Towards my 7th year working there, I realized that this company is so great, it's hard to move up, especially if you're just waiting. I had a degree, I was skilled, I was doing good, but my manager had been in his role for 15 years and hadn't promoted in 15 years, and he was good. And the hard thing is that he was doing good, but so was everybody else. And so I know it's a challenge they face, but I was like, I think I'm going to go try something else. And so I had an opportunity to work in Hollywood for a minute. And as soon as that started developing, there was several strikes, and it was really difficult to succeed. We'd sold a film, meaning we got production rights, and that was a kind of a funny story. But I learned a lot about selling an idea. And most people don't know this, but a script is the business plan for a film. Mm. And so Disney taught me these great experiences working with a couple filmmakers and then selling a film. When you think about it, they look at it as like, is this a date night movie? Is this a horror? Is this like, where does it fit in our product cycle? And so we found one that was a great date night movie. And it was a small budget, but hey, we sold a film in Hollywood. That was 2007. And it was downhill from there. Things just kept falling apart. And when the strike happened, it wasn't that like the industry ended. Imagine like a retailer has to close for 2 weeks. What do I do with my inventory? What do I do with my products? I have to reorganize what goes where. So new products are going to be on hold for a minute. And so by the time it got reshuffled, we had kind of run out of resources and it just didn't work. And so that was a 4-year adventure there. So Disney was showmanship, experiences, brand. Hollywood was storytelling. It was like literally, how do I keep your interest, take you through a story, and you enjoy popcorn sitting at this theater. The theaters are super involved in what gets made. So these were really valuable experiences. And at that time, I was really discouraged of how much effort and energy I put into something that I was passionate about, and it didn't work. And I wasn't ready to go back to Disney. They had invited me to come back for a couple roles, and meaning like production roles, not in their performance, but it just didn't make the money I was looking for. And so a friend of mine, we were praying a lot actually of like, what should we do? And a friend of mine was like, hey, do you want to come work with me? And it was like 18 minutes after I finished my prayer too. So I was kind of like, really fast, And he was a creative director at a local marketing company called 101 Marketing.
This is in California.
This is here. And so, sorry, I had moved to Utah by this point. And so my entire family's here. And every year they're like, when are you coming? And I'm like, I'm not, So we moved to Utah in 2009. And then my partner, he became my partner. He invited me to come work with him. And so he was a brilliant creative. And I said, my man, like, I don't even know what SEO is. Like, I don't know how I can help you. And he's like, well, I'm afraid to talk to people. And I was like, well, I'm not. Oh, you need help selling. And he's like, bingo. And I'm like, I got it. And so I was on a fast track of conversion optimization, web dev, creative. So his name is Ryan Sharp, and he is lights out. He's so good, such a brilliant mind. It was easy to sell because Ryan was so amazing. And so I fell in love with entrepreneurs at that point. And so I still didn't really know what marketing was, but I loved listening to everybody's like business, and I solved this problem, and I was like, wow, this is cool, to listen to like, we need you to help us tell this story. And whether it was accounting or a legal service or a product company, just listening to their stories, I was like, man, this is so fun. Like, look at all these people putting their dreams out here, pulling money out of their back pocket to start something. So startups and entrepreneurship just caught my attention in such a huge way because I loved the format of storytelling and I thought it had to be delivered with film. But brands and products tell a different story of solving our problem and as marketers, us solving theirs. And I was so enamored with entrepreneurship of like solving a problem with a business, and that opened my eyes and I was like, I can take my skill of, creativity and storytelling and turn it into an operation to help them make money. And so I fell in love with it super fast. And I was like, I found my thing. And I was pumped at that point.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So cool.
Yeah.
So you, that skill of taking like the creative and storytelling, moving into marketing, I feel like I've worked with you on a number of projects now, and I've been able to see firsthand your skill at saying like, let's think outside the box here. How can we, give them a really cool experience, tell a really great story. I think storytelling in marketing is one of those things that's widely accepted as, yes, everyone, you say you need to get better at storytelling and everyone's going to nod their head.
But in my experience, I would guess that maybe 5% or less of people in the industry actually apply it or pursue that. What do you feel like in your experience is holding people back from being better storytellers when it comes to like marketing?
That's a great question. And I think what was weird for me is that I had this great story training and just assumed everybody else knew it too. And so it is a skill and there is training for it. And I think that we confuse like calls to action, positioning statements as storytelling, and it's not. And so when you can like unpack the whole journey, like from, the problem to the solution, there's such a story to tell for any business. To me, the best book on story, and we talked about this before, but is Story by Robert McKee. And so that's the book on storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of great books on storytelling, but in school in illustration, they taught us very in depth about the statement that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, as an illustrator, I'm creating a picture from scratch. Like I will dictate what's going to happen in this image. I'm going to tell you a story by design. Same with the photographer. But photographer capture what is. I'm going to create what is.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to learn a lot about what are you saying. If you put a figure in, alone with a lot of negative space, you create the feeling of being alone. If you put the person around a lot of food, that means love. If you have tension, that creates angst. If there's, lines that are pointing to someone, it creates a tension. And so illustration is complicated as any industry.
Yeah.
There's so much technical ability around it. So we read the book Story by Robert McKee. He breaks down the movie Casablanca, and Casablanca is a great movie. I wouldn't call it one of my top 10 though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of great movies out there, but Robert breaks down Casablanca as the best movie ever made because it's the best job at telling a story. It doesn't mean it's the best story. It does the best job of telling a story, of moving a narrative with characters, with supporting characters, set, shot selection, timing. And he talks a lot about the supporting cast. And so when you have the two love interests that are trying to recapture their feelings, you have, outside characters complimenting, the man and complimenting the woman or warning them. And their dialogue is less important at that point as like, Rick, you're the best. He's the most honorable. He has integrity. The character doesn't say that about himself, but
Right.
There's like third-party validation happening. And so as a viewer, you're watching this story unfold and it takes you through the whole hero's journey. And when you can get to that end, that you got the crescendo and the change and the resolve, you're always like, and you're so excited to have participated in a story. And most people don't know this about Disneyland. Disneyland is the same concept. So if you were to describe Disneyland, how would you describe it?
Fun, nostalgic.
Yep. And you're not wrong. People would say theme park or a carnival that's permanent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because in many ways it is. And
Right.
when Walt pitched to Disney, people were like, you want to do what? Like put some corporate offices up and let's, make some money on that and build some equity. And he said, no, I want a completely different experience. And so as a child, Walt would watch animations or films and have the desire to be there. What if I could be inside of a movie walking around with the characters in the film? That's Disneyland. Frontierland, you're walking around a Western with the characters from the film. In Tomorrowland, you're walking around a sci-fi with the characters from a sci-fi. In, Adventureland, you're walking around the jungles of Africa with characters. And so you got to be in any movie you want and you just walk to the next movie. And so now that you see Disneyland in that way, it's a totally different experience.
Yeah.
And they have kept that like origin story and the genesis that made Disneyland in every Disney park. And so if you think about you're walking around a movie, it's a totally different experience.
Yeah.
And they design everything from that lens of how can I be in the story? And what makes them a great storytelling company is they want you to be a participant in the story. And that's what Robert talks about. And so if you come back to a marketing perspective, it's a show, from websites to ads to merchandising to the product itself, and how you review it and, all the supporting collateral. I want to participate in this journey. So that is no small thing. And to architect a journey is quite a lot. And I don't know many CEOs that are on board with that level of patience. But the brands that are smashing it tell a story.
Yeah.
And you can feel it, you can see it, and because it works. This is not just like this would be fun. It's also a good financial strategy, right? Is that as a consumer, I'm wrapped up in your story, not the one or two products that you have to offer, and you then have the permission to be marketed to because you've captured me. I want to participate in your story,
Yeah.
So it's a real skill, and the best of the best do it.
Yeah. So in my experience, from what I've seen, is there's like, you're familiar with the uncanny valley, right?
I'm not. Yeah.
So like
Yeah, dude, tell me.
in 3D animation,
Okay.
there's like when you animate a human, there, as you get closer and closer to human like, you reach this point where people are okay with what they're looking at. And then once it gets too close, but it's not there,
Yeah.
it reaches this uncanny valley where it's like
Huh,
disturbing,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
Before you finally reach like lifelike, right?
That was the Christmas movie with
Polar
the train.
Express.
Polar Express. Yeah.
I mean,
like,
all those movies are a little bit, yeah. And I feel like I've seen a similar, like if we graphed it out, where there is kind of like what I might say is like mediocre, but like I'm putting food on the table kind of marketing. I'm optimizing my CTAs, or I'm getting the site up or whatever.
which is a thing. Yeah,
Right.
it's a thing. Yeah.
Right. And then I've seen, the success stories on the other end of that valley of like, look at, I mean, a billion brands like, Death Water?
A Liquid Death.
Liquid Death. Dang it.
Yeah.
Liquid Death is killing it, right? In that storytelling perspective.
Literally canned water.
Yeah, exactly.
$4 a can.
Yeah.
Take my money.
I think there's a lot of brands that are in between those, that are either like they're going halfway on it, or they're telling a story that's like cute but doesn't resonate, or whatever, that ends up falling flat and they just never get told the
Yeah.
stories, right? How, I think as a marketer, one of the things we need to overcome is that risk of, I'm taking a swing here. The only way you hit a home run is if you swing, but when you swing, you have a chance to strike out. Right?
Yeah.
So like, as you've approached your career and you've taken these swings, what has been your mindset to either increase the odds of hitting a homer, or overcoming just like that fear of taking that risk and like, I don't know if this is going to work out or not, but we're going to move forward?
Yeah. Great question. I think when you make quick decisions, you make the riskiest decisions. When you really do your homework, you practice and you prepare, you're going to be ready to tell that story. So as the CMO at Little Giant, I had a great team, a great CEO, a great, history of the company. I was definitely coming in standing on the shoulders of giants, right? So I was so excited to continue that storytelling, and most of the storytelling was about the product. And it's a great product. And so we were trying to break into a new market and trying to be seen for the professional commercial category. And so as we thought about it, we spent a lot of time with them and listened. And what are they actually talking about, thinking about? What are they not talking about? What are they worried about? What are they excited about? And so spending time with this cohort, which is very Liquid Death cohort, what brands did they purchase? What did they buy before and after us? And I noticed there was this, amongst the majority of that industry, there was an edge about everyone. They had to be seen as being super tough, super strong and rigid, skilled, lots of lone wolves, lots of independent contractors, but, and lots of tattoos. And, there was several brands I paid attention to that I'm like, okay, like this cohort, it's important for them to be seen as being dangerous. And we were selling a safety product with a safety message. And I was like, they'll never admit that they like that. They want to do the dangerous thing and then make sure that you got their background. And so that was a big thought, like, okay. And so I started testing, like, we would go and talk to influencers in the market, and even the retailers were very price focused because they're salespeople, but the buyer is different. Like, how do you capture their heart? And so I was getting that information. And then I went to a trade show with electricians, and we had all of our products, and there was a husband and wife that was really like struggling in our booth. They were kind of getting at each other, and I was trying to distance myself. Like, I don't want to be involved in your fight, please. And he had gotten really hurt on a ladder fall, and she was really emotional. And they did get in a small fight right in front of me, and she was like, "You almost didn't come home, and you almost didn't come home at all." And she's weeping, and I'm sitting there like, well, what's going on? And so he said, "Babe, I have to have a ladder," and I said, "Let me show you something." And so I honored him and honored her, and she was like, "Okay, you can use only this ladder," and I'm like, "He's gonna be all right," and that story had an influence. And so it's not just for our product, it's the buyer, the influencer, there's all these things. And so it came down to the buyer's like core need to prove themselves. And so we came out with a couple ideas, but essentially was like honoring their danger, and so all of our marketing felt that way, where we were respected. Like we also found that of the 25 most dangerous jobs in the world, our customers were 11 of the 25.
Wow.
High voltage, steel workers, like dangerous situations. And they wanted to be respected. So the whole customer journey was like respecting danger, respecting danger, respecting danger. And some of them even get hazard pay because what they do is deadly.
Yeah.
And you watch them on Instagram. And so that became the core of our storytelling, to take them through, you're talented, you're amazing, you're dangerous. And they felt seen. And that became a really big market penetration opportunity. And our go-to-market plan was to build messaging like that. And it worked. And influencers began requesting us, like, how do I come interact with your brand? Like, and it was gritty, and our competitors had been so well established, they weren't worried about us until we started taking market share. And it's a real tough industry to get into because it's so established. It's a connected network that,
Yeah.
everybody already knows each other.
I mean, there's a generational component too.
Serious generational component. So we got into that. We got into the psyche of it. And so, yeah, it was so fun to like have that revelation. And so when we pitched that to our sales team, they had goosebumps, and they said, "You nailed it," because they felt like they had weapons they could go to war with. And they did. They went and got customers, and it's a lot of fun. And so we woke up a giant, though. We definitely woke up a giant. And there's some great companies in that industry, and people aren't going to let you take market share for long, especially threatening their jobs and different things. And that's a tricky part of marketing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That reminds me of one of my, probably not one of my favorite Super Bowl commercial, which is like So God Made a Farmer.
Oh yeah, dude. We're both there. Absolutely.
The best.
Yeah.
It's basically this audience who feels underappreciated, is working hard to support the entire nation.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, we see you. We know how hard your job is. And this product is built to serve you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when Harvey said that message forever ago, he didn't know it'd be in a Super Bowl ad.
Yeah.
He was telling the truth, and that resonated. Have you been to the Tillamook Cheese Factory?
No, I haven't.
So it is so much on that note, and it is about like local farmers and honoring them. And it's neat because it's a fun factory tour. You get cheese and ice cream, and ice cream is really good. It's made right there,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's so many huge murals and like just big wall art of farmers, and it just make them look amazing. And I'm grateful for that because we've got farmers in our family, but it hit that same note where you felt like they were seen. And I think Tillamook's going to continue to be successful for that way.
Yeah. I love that. So this move that you did with Little Giant was also in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
And I thought it was what you built out on premise, that studio.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You can talk about that.
Yeah.
Because that was a massive pivot. Like, you didn't let COVID get in the way. You actually like took advantage of it, I felt like.
Yeah. What helped is our CEO and founder, they had been doing TV advertising for a long time. And so the question to normally for us to demonstrate a ladder is a huge box. You have to go in person, open it up. Ladders are big, right? By design, we couldn't do that. So the question became, how do we continue to demonstrate when we can't go visit people? And so our CEO challenged us with that. And so all of us began putting our heads together. We're like, let's build a huge studio here, multi-camera. And so we had lots of connections with Rick Salisbury and others. And so we hired him to help us build the studio. And it was just a great vision. And so marketing team, executives and sales all got together, and we wanted to be able to blow their minds. We wanted to be able to give them an experience that was unlike anything they currently have, because most video conferences, most video training is a talking head.
Yep.
We did 9, PTZ cameras, in-room photography. And it went so well that Zoom reached out to us and said, what are you doing?
Really?
Yeah. And they had 1,000 questions for us and like, tell us how you're doing this. And so we did 2 studios, one that was very much on brand, kind of a rustic, fun feel. And then we did one that was more of a commercial environment where we could have like a situation room where we could demonstrate all the uses of our ladders. Most people don't know this, but Little Giant has over 1,200 ladders for all the different, like all these little differences, they make a difference, right? And like, how are you getting to that and being secured? And so lots of different ways to solve problems for lots of categories, but it was all around how do we keep people safe and then climb? It's a safety company that makes ladders, not a ladder company that has safety. And so we could literally show them the situation. So we had great demonstrators that would show the ladders, but we would bring people into our Zoom environment and we could walk around the room and cameras coming down the ladder, up the ladder, and then everywhere in the room, you really could get a different visual. And so we began training our retailers as well. And so our retailers do product knowledge trainings to their associates. And so we won awards there. And so it was just neat that our CEO had this vision and like, how do we pull this off? And it was an absolute blast. And it did. We kept selling. And so much so that we captured the attention of our retailers that like, we are not giving up. We're going to solve this problem. And so much fun. And it was neat too, to see our team think about this problem we're trying to solve. And then we did, right? We were originally going to hire a group to do all of the AV. We did it all ourselves. And so just honored by our team and how hard they worked. And it took everybody thinking about it, and just a great vision. And so I was really grateful to that challenge came, because if challenges present so many opportunities to like break the mold, because you have to, because the mold's not providing food for your family. And Ryan is just very much that way. Ryan Moss, great CEO. And so it was a lot of fun to be a part of that.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, you have, at the end of the day, the same number of pixels as your competitor. And to say, well, we're not going to do the talking head thing. We're going to rethink how we use those pixels.
Yeah.
And instead of getting trapped into, I mean, it's a trap, really. A lot of people will just do the talking head and not even question it. It's like, it doesn't even enter their field of view to say, this could be different. This could be better.
Yeah.
I as you've been through these experiences with multiple brands, and if there's people listening, like aspiring to like, okay, I think I can rethink this, or I'm in a new thing that I want to do, and I'm going to take some big swings. I find that context is really important. So there may be somebody listening who's thinking like, okay, yeah, I'm going to spend 1 or 2 weeks listening and then like come up with some big ideas.
Yeah.
Is that like how long should people be spending? Because in my experience, it's like it's longer than you think. Like listening and then building and then actually pushing something live. Like, what is a good, like, give people some context in your experience of what it takes for a success there?
Yeah, definitely test and iterate. Don't just, Tiger Woods talks about when he's coming up to a tournament, he gets 1,000 touches with a club to a ball, 1,000. Steph Curry, that story, like how many shots does he shoot before a game? So in a game, it looks like he's making everything, but you didn't see the thousands of misses before that were very intentional. And so I remember somebody telling me that he worked for an agency and it said, fail fast above the door. So I agree with that while you're paying attention. Like take smaller swings, slower swings, see some responses while you're paying attention. I was asked to speak last year at one of our customers' conferences, and like talk about like branding and brand guides and things like that. And I was like, easy. Wait a minute, like who is this for? And so I thought like I'd be pretty prideful to go in and act like I know everything. I don't know everything. And so I called several of their marketing leaders and I was like, talk to me. What are you doing? What frustrates you? Why? And I got some incredible sound bites and I was like, what did you say? Say that one more time. And they're like, oh, that sounds pretty good. And they were proud of themselves for that sound bite. And I was like, whoa. And that sound bite just kicked open a whole campaign where I was solving it over there, thinking about me, thinking that please buy our stuff. Yeah. And over here, this is a real feeling that they have. It's a real problem that they're trying to solve. And so when that happened and it came, I dove into that. So when we went and presented, everyone was like, have you been spying on me? you know, and they felt, again, feeling understood is the sexiest feeling in the universe. Not being attractive, not being funny, feeling understood, you know, and selfish. I mean, like the thing that's hard about that is it's really uncomfortable topic is like, that's how affairs happen is at work. People feel understood. That's how, you know, you fall in love with someone. That's how you fall in love with a brand. That's how you know, get convinced to join a club, a faith, a religion, is you feel understood. And so that is such a hard thing to do. And that's why the research is so important. But you can't just like do a bunch of research and try once.
Yeah.
You know, our daughter just, I'm going to try to keep it together. I'm so proud of her. She just found out today she got callbacks. She was auditioning for this role and she's really nervous. She's 12, you know, and she's like, I'll just do this other thing that I'm guaranteed to be in. I'm like, no, kiddo, like you're a Frisbee. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and she's like, what does that mean? I'm like, I don't know. You know? And she rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed. She's like, how's this sound? I'm like, kiddo, like make me believe this is real. And so we read back to her and she's like, you sound terrible. I'm like, I know, but at least you sound, you know, you know what it shouldn't sound like. And she just kept rehearsing all night. And so when she texted us and she got callbacks, like she probably said those lines, I don't know, for like 4 days straight, to the point that all the kids in the house are like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, guys, easy. Also, that's kind of funny, you know, but she got it. And so because she practiced and practiced and practiced, when she went, it was just automatic. So I think there's this balance of practicing and not like A/B testing, like do a campaign, a small one, while you're paying attention, because if you don't do the campaign and just do the research, you didn't go out for it. There's something to be said about embarrassing yourself.
Yeah.
You know, there's something to be said about doing it wrong, because there's more value in the sound bites than there is in not doing it at all. And because I had done like 6 or 7 iterations and I got that soundbite, I was like, whoa. Same with the wife that watched her husband nearly die. I mean, they're in the ER and she could have lost her partner. And so listening to that real emotion, it affected me, you know, because these are customers who live and die by your product. Like, listen. And so this other company, it wasn't like a life or death situation, but it was still a very large emotion. And so that feeling of being understood should be the heart of any story. And the stories that we love the most are the ones that we can relate to the most. Like one of my favorite movies is Moana. Like I'm saying that out here. Like there's such a genealogy story there. And that means a lot to me because of our family history. And, you know, we talked about that a little bit, but like, that's why I listen to the Moana soundtrack more than I'll ever admit, you know, like, so when you feel understood, that's when you know that you've hit it.
Yeah. Tell us about Axomo and the, like, really quick, one step back is I feel like there's a lot of serendipity in these stories that you're sharing, where it's like, I was at a booth and someone randomly had this conversation, and then you take advantage of that serendipity.
Yeah.
But you can't run across it unless you're out there.
That's right.
Moving and listening. Right.
Yep.
But the expectation of, okay, you talk to 10 people and you're going to get the story. It may not be 10 people. It may, you need to talk to 50 or whatever. Like, but the point is it's unknowable.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it drives a lot of marketers, especially those that are more like engineer brained. It drives them crazy.
Right.
That it's unknowable and you're just out there fishing. You know,
yeah.
Something may happen.
No, that's a great question. And that when you can architect serendipity, like that is the path. And marketing, to me, I think everyone would say this about their industry. Marketing is the hardest industry. And I love what was taught to me. And the question was, what's the highest form of art in the world? What's the highest form of art?
I don't know.
Advertising. And if you were to say that to an artist, it'd be like, you know, it's creating an asset and image that gets people to act. Get your wallet out of your back pocket because I made this piece of this image, this video, a soundbite that you're going to act. When you look at Mona Lisa, you're like, is she smiling? Is she not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
what do I do about this?
Yeah, you look at a Manet, a Monet, I mean, even modern art. You're like, wow, but you didn't like change, you know. And I watch an ad and I'm like, whoa, look what that can do, you know. Or walk into a Buc-ee's and lose your life savings. You know what I mean? Like. So as a marketer, it is your job to be, in the psychology, to be in the even the physics of the situation, to be in the mathematics of it. There's such a global understanding of human behavior that you have to put yourself in their shoes. And for me, when I think about that, I want to hear it from them. So literally, dude, in 3 weeks, I'm going to spend time with our target customer. We had for Axomo. So we're a swag management platform. Nobody's dying if they don't get their swag. This is in many ways an unnecessary thing, but it is a necessary thing. And so we built a persona and we gave this ICP a name based on current customers. And so we have a current customer and several that use our product exactly as we dreamed, because for years we saw these problems. We kind of have 6 things that our platform solves. And this customer uses every one of them like a dream. And so we call her Queen Vicky. And so we've had conversations. I've flown out and had lunch with her, but we're actually hosting an event on her behalf in Chicago in a few weeks.
And if you don't know, this is a real person.
This is a real person.
The persona has been named after.
Yep.
But when you build, you think about
I see her photo. We've had lunch. She kayaks. She just had a baby. We sent her a big Taylor Swift gift package for her baby and on the Eras tour and all that, right? And so she lost her mind with that gift. We did a custom Taylor Swift baby package and so fun. But and listening to the problems she's trying to solve, why she's trying to solve them, what she hopes people see her as, how we can make her look like she is talented, successful, prepared, she executes. That is why we exist. Is we essentially internally we say we're here for Vicky, we're here for Queen Vicky. All hail the Queen. And we do, though, everything we build is to get more and more Vickies, and it's the best model. It's the best experience. We are best suited to fit her. We solve all of her problems. And so every time I get the chance to see what she's doing, I'm taking extreme notes of why this, why that. So while we're out there, I've blocked out a chunk of time to talk to me. And I have all these questions prepared. And what I love is she's excited to share it because she's like, it just keeps getting better for me. And I'm like, I know, but tell me more,
Yeah.
And so that's exciting. And our customer advisory board, same thing. They're very similar in their education, experience, talent, passions. And so we've got this cohort of people that we've built our platform for. And we've got lots of competitors, but I don't care. I'm going to go crush it for her. And I think that she'll feel like, man, that was really special.
Yeah. I love that. It's such a great story.
Thanks.
Matt, thank you so much for joining today. I think there's so many great takeaways in here. If you had to give maybe one more piece of advice for somebody who has, for whatever reason, not taken the swings that they need to be taking in marketing, what would you recommend that they go do today?
I mean, take the swing, but I love what we talked about earlier. Have confidence in that swing. You're talented. The opportunities have come to you. Take the swing. You're going to be so excited when you see the result. And especially if you miss, swing again, because opportunities are going to keep coming to you. And when you make contact that way, and that opportunity does what you hoped it to do, you will change. And I remember, all the failures. And then when it happened, it was like, I did it. And I recently, and I'll tell a quick story about golf. And I had a round of 18 where I played super terrible the first 9. I just laughed it off, I'm not good. But then the back 9, I did everything right. And I was doing the math and I was like, I made par in every hole and I got 2 birdies. What? And I was like, that'll never happen again. Why am I saying that to myself? I just did it.
Yeah.
And when you see yourself do it, know that you can do it again and again. And so be willing to fail and be excited about that failure, because when you do it, you're going to be so excited about your capability and you're really going to learn why you're here. And I think that belief, not belief, you're here for a reason. Find out why. And when you use your talent and serve others with your talent, you're going to feel different. And I'm grateful that I've had those opportunities, because it changed me. It definitely changed me. And I hope that others get to experience that, because of the great risk and the reward that follows. Is exciting.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks for having me, dude. Appreciate it.
Been great.
That's it for today, everybody. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a 5-star rating and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Big thank you to Matt Frisby for joining us today. You can find him on LinkedIn if you want to talk with him more about storytelling. I'd also strongly recommend that you check out Axomo and their offerings in swag management. They've got something really cool going on there. Some big takeaways from this episode. Number one, make customers feel understood. Matt's Little Giant breakthrough came from realizing customers in dangerous jobs wanted to respect, not just safety messaging. Number two, test small before taking big swings. Take smaller swings while you build up to bigger swings, like Tiger Woods practicing 1,000 touches. Iterate through small campaigns before making big bets. Number three, do real customer research. Matt's best insights came from actual conversations, like the emotional trade show moment or having lunch with Queen Vicky at Exomo. You can find past episodes of the campaign and marketing tools and information at 97thfloor.com. You can also learn more about the agency and get in touch with a marketing specialist if you want support for your own marketing campaigns. That's it for now. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you back here next week. Until then, keep innovating, keep converting.